Adding audio files or special effects in Unity is extremely easy to accomplish. If you open up the project files that come with this course, in the folder audio you will find a file called Grenade. Now drag this MP3 file on top of the audio in Unity and I will import it and show you the waveform of both the left and the right channel, and of course only one when it's a mono file. Now by default there's a couple of settings checked here. Of course compression is disabled because this is an MP3 file and it's already very much compressed. But if you for example use WAV files or OGGs, then compression is off and you can check what kind of compression you want. This also goes for AIF files. Now 3D sound is something that you want to have checked on in case when it comes to sound effects, and not for music though, but for sound effects, because it basically uses this sound in the 3D world as a 3D sound, and that is picked up by the audio listener. If you open up the camera that's attached to the player prefab, you will notice that an audio listener is connected to it. If I would duplicate this camera and I would have two audio listeners, Unity would give me an error saying there's two audio listeners in the scene because you only need one. Now the audio listener is attached to the camera because we want to hear sound relative to the camera. So for example, if something is exploding towards the right, then we want to hear sound towards the right as well as, for example, the left. So that's what 3D sound does, and of course it's also louder or quieter when you're closer or further away. Now there's a couple of other settings. It says force it to mono, and this will force the stereo to a mono file. And then of course you can also set it to decompress on load, because when your game loads you could decompress it so that the file size is smaller when you ship it, but you have more frequencies to play with as soon as the game starts. Then of course there's the compression in kilobyte per second, and then that's it for the settings. You can preview the audio by clicking the play button, and of course you can loop that as well. Now let's attach this to our prefab here. You might think we want to attach it to the grenade, but if you attach to the grenade you have to do more scripting to get it done. What's easier is just to attach it to the explosion, that as soon as the explosion is created it will play the grenade sound. So let's open up our exp for explosion and just drag the sound on top of it, and that's all we need to do. Now it gives us a couple more options here. Play on awake means that as soon as it's created the sound will play, and this is in this case what we want. The volume of this file is 1, and if you think it's a little too loud compared with the others you can tweak that down a little bit, but I'd highly recommend to do that in your audio editing programs more than I would do that in Unity, although you can. Pitch is an interesting one. For example, if you have footstep sounds, you don't want to have the same footstep play the whole time, but you only need one file. You just slightly change the pitch and then it sounds like a totally different footstep. Then you have a minimum volume and a maximum volume, and of course the roll-off factor of your audio. You can also set it to loop so that it will play multiple times, but in this case it's an explosion, so we don't want the explosion to loop. Now if I run my game and I pick up the crates really quickly without trying to get shot by the turret, and I throw the grenade, and you will see that it now plays the sound, and it has a little audio symbol that goes away as soon as the sound is done playing. Now if I throw the grenade and it's towards the right of the screen, you will hear it in the right speaker, and if it's towards the left of the screen you will hear this in your left speaker. And I just fell off the platform, but that's okay. Okay, so that is how sounds work. Of course there's also the option to script it. If I open up a script file, for example, you could make a new variable and call it my audio file, and then make it of type audio clip, and this will allow you to drag an audio file on top of this variable in the editor, and then if you want to play it you can simply reference to it using my audio file dot play, and this will play the sound. It also supports play one shot, and that means if you only want to play it once when it's a looping file, it will only play it once. So that's how audio works in script. Very easy, a lot less complicated than I thought it would be when I didn't know about it. But it's very flexible and very powerful.